Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com. This is the fifth tutorial in our series of beginners Java tutorials, and in this tutorial we're going to look at for loops. I'm going to create a new Java project in Eclipse as usual, and I'm going to call this tutorial 5. Click next, yes, and finish. And I'm going to create a new class. I'll call this application. It doesn't really matter as long as it's got a capital letter at the start there. Click finish. I will create a main method here by typing main control space and hitting return. And I didn't really explain this properly last time, but if you've got badly formatted code like this, if you just press Control, Shift and F, that will automatically format your code for you. Or if you forget the shortcut, you can also just right click and go to Source and go to Format. Okay, so this is a runnable application, and I'm going to type here the keyword for, and I'm going to have opening and closing round brackets, which are going to contain the conditions that control how many times the loop will execute for. And then I'll have opening and closing curly brackets, which will control, which is where we will put the code that we want to execute. The reason I'm getting an error here is because inside the round brackets I need at least 2 semicolons like this. Why, you'll see in a minute. And I'm going to type system.out.println, and I'll just put hello in there so that we've got some code to execute. And if I execute this, it's just an infinite loop that will go on until I stop it with the terminate button here. Now what this actually is these semicolons divide the stuff in here into 3 sections, and in the first section the first section contains code that executes before the loop starts, so before this will actually be printed in this case, and in there I can declare and initialize a loop counter variable. I can say int I is traditional equals 0. And then in the second clause here is a condition, and as long as this condition is true, the loop will execute. So I could say, for example, I less than 5, and as long as I is less than 5, this loop will run. And here, this is a condition that will be executed once after every iteration of the loop. So I could put I equals I plus 1. So I'm saying take the value of I, add 1 to it, and then stuff it back in I itself, so that with every repeat of the loop I will be incremented. And a shorthand way of increasing I by 1 is to type I++, which is very handy. So now we've got kind of a standard for loop, and if I run that, it will execute 5 times. So the first time I is 0, and then the condition's checked, I is less than 5, yes, so this is printed out, and then this is executed, so now I is 1. This is not executed again, this is only executed before the loop starts for the first time. So what happens next is this is checked, I is less than 5, yes, because it's 1, so this is printed again. I is incremented, I is checked again, this is printed out, and so on, until I is equal to 5, and then this is no longer true, and the loop then will stop, and it will not go into here, it will just stop. There's one other interesting thing that I'd like to show you here. that we'll maybe get into a bit more later on. If I want to print out the value of I here, I can say, well, I could say, for example, the value of I is, and just concatenate I to it, and I will be automatically changed into a string in effect and appended to this string, and we'll get this. But there's another way of doing this that you will definitely come across. Instead of print ln, I can use print f, and this is a method that requires I have to pass two what we call arguments to it, and the first argument is a string, a format specifier, and the second argument is a value to fill in the format specifier. I know this is sounding like gobbledygook. In fact, there might be many arguments, but what is a format specifier? Well, so the format specifier is a string that can contain special characters, special symbols actually, that will then be replaced by the numbers or variables that you have here. And I'm just going to show you one for this tutorial. So the format specifiers begin with % and they end in a letter, and the letter for an integer that you need is D. So %D means, okay, print this string but replace %D with the value of the integer specified here after the comma every time. And if I run this, you get this output. And why is it all on one line? Well, because unlike print ln, printf does not print out a invisible new line character by default, so it doesn't make the output go onto a new line, and that's sometimes very useful, but other times it's not. And if you actually want to print a new line here, there's two ways you can do it. One way is you can have just a blank sysout here, so I could type sysout control space, and that will have the desired effect. Or I'll get rid of that with control D. I can type another special character, well, special character sequence here, \n, which means new line. This is a lot to digest, but try it in your own program, see if you can get this to work. Remember, %d just gets replaced with the value of the variable you specify here, and /n just means print a new line. I could actually put /n anywhere if I wanted. I could have a /n here or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be at the end. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you can get your head around for loops, and as always I advise not pondering about it for too long, but just try typing it out and see if you can get it to work, and see what errors come up and fix them and get your loops working. And because programming is like learning a language, as I keep saying. So until next time, enjoy using for loops, and I hope you'll join me again for the next tutorial when we will be looking at conditionals a bit more and the if statement. And until then, happy coding.